Welcome to season 3 of the Iceman Podcast. My name is Brett Arkelian. Kick your feet up, relax, and enjoy this episode of the Iceman Podcast.
They call me the Iceman. Cold as ice as I am. Can you drop a nice man? Smoke it till you nice, fam. You nice, fam.
This is a July 4th Independence Day episode. Very fired up for that. Really excited for the opportunity to come on here and talk a little bit about July 4th and what being an American means to me. I'm lucky and blessed. For those of you that don't know about my journey, I was a specialist from Fresno, California, and I went to Fresno City College my freshman year of college and really didn't have an opportunity. But I got the opportunity to, at the end of my freshman season, go to Lincoln University, which is a Division II, a HBCU. HBCU is a historically black college university in the United States. The first one, built in 1854, the first degree granting university. So getting that opportunity and going to Lincoln was very cool for me because it showed me about the diversity that's in this country and the opportunities in college football that I could have to better my life and make new connections with people. Growing up, I grew up in a very suburban in Clovis, California, at Buchanan High School. Shout out to the Bears. Actually, Fresno State this season has the most Buchanan players they've ever had in nearly a 10 or 15 years span. We have 8 Buchanan Bears on the team this year. Very proud about that. But getting that opportunity to go to Lincoln, I had a lot of family members that were concerned, to say the least, about being a minority and being in a totally different part of the country, about 2,500 miles away. I know for a lot of specialists out there or players, recruits in general, wondering what they should do going forward, opportunities, especially Californians. You know, there used to be a lot of Division II and Division III universities, and all of them have but folded with a couple LA Division III schools around. Whenever wondering about taking an opportunity and taking a leap of faith, I definitely endorse you to do it. Once I got that Lincoln University offer, I went to my parents. I remember we were at Selland Arena in Fresno watching the high school Valley Championships with one of my best friends, Quinn Ristad, and the Bullard Knights playing. And I was so excited. And I said, Dad, I got this offer to Division II University to go kick. And he looked at me and looked at my mom, and he said, that's not going to work. You're not going to go 3,000 miles across the country to a place that we've never heard of. We have no family members over there. It'd be different if it was in Texas, I remember him saying, but you are totally across the country with no one around. And that was kind of disappointing. But after they talked about it, they weighed out the pros and cons. And I encourage you, before taking any giant leap or going someplace, to make a list of pros and cons. Sometimes those don't match up. The cons, there was more cons than pros, but those pros outweighed the cons in that list. And really, it was the opportunity to play college football, to start and play all 3 positions: kicker, punter, and the kickoff specialist, and get my degree, which ended up getting my college degree from Lincoln in 2 years, 3 years for undergrad total, that my parents felt it was the right decision. Meeting some of my teammates and people there at Lincoln University was one of the coolest experiences. Being a white boy from California with very long hair down to his shoulders, we'll throw a picture up there, Cam, to the other side of the country, to a historically black college with kids from inner city New York, inner city Philly, New Jersey, in the South. It was quite the experience. But from day one, Bradley Martin, who was I love to tell his story. He's a 28-year-old male model / football player, wide receiver from West Philly, was there. And it was one of my first buddies and best buddies. Him and his friends kind of watched me move in. When things came down to it, Bradley kind of took me under his wing. He was 28. I was about 18 or 19, and showed me around campus and showed me the way things worked, and just went into everything with an open mind, excited for new opportunities. Anyway, that experience at Lincoln really showed me the possibilities that are there in college football and to see the world, see the country. Got to go to New York City, got to go to Philadelphia, got to really explore the East Coast, which for a 19-year-old from Clovis, California, that was not really an opportunity I would have had if I stayed. From there, I went to UT Martin, which was a total 180. It was West Tennessee, so it was about the farthest thing from an HBCU, as those in the Tennessee area can imagine. But I love that experience there too. Totally different, very rural. I had to get my first pair of country boots there, some Ariats. But that was a totally different experience, and that was awesome too. I had a lot of fun. We got to go to Hawaii for a week, played against Ole Miss, played against Cincinnati. So had some fun experiences there. And then all the coaching opportunities I've had since then, coaching at a high school in the Nashville area for 3 years, coaching at Marshall in West Virginia, coaching at Rice in Houston, Virginia Tech in Virginia, Blacksburg, Virginia, and then coming back out to the West Coast finally to finish at UC Davis and Fresno State. Those opportunities to live in all different areas and the different cultures have been super exciting to me. I was a history teacher and got my degree in history with a minor in Black Studies. And getting to see all the different cultures part of this country, I think, is one of the coolest things I've ever done. And it might feel odd at times. You might feel weird moving to a new place. But once you learn the dialects, the sayings, the slang, the food, different cultural norms, I promise you it's going to be one of the best experiences you ever get the chance to make. So I'm very thankful to live in the United States, to represent a university from my hometown, and I'm proud to be an American. So that is our 4th of July. Another cool experience that reminds me of Independence Day was the 9/11 Memorial, which if you guys have never been there to see the World Trade Center Memorial in New York City, definitely worth checking out. I was lucky enough to coach in the Pinstripe Bowl with Virginia Tech. We got to be in Yankee Stadium. We're on the home side. That was our dugout. We got to dress in the Yankees locker room, which was a one-of-the-kind experience and amazing in and of itself. But we got to check out the World Trade Center Memorial. Being a history major, that was one of the moments in my life, or historical moments, that, you know, made a huge difference, was a world-changing event. And I wanted to know the why. I wanted to know why it happened, especially when I was young. I can remember my parents, you know, watching TV and being in shock and disbelief, and we didn't know what was going on. I love asking coaches or fellow teachers, where were they when 9/11 happened? And seeing that memorial, I know it's a little pricey. We were able to go to the top, and then with the team, we got to check out the museum itself. Hearing some of the stories, right? The firefighters who were there. I've watched movies. I've done research on the subject. I've seen every conspiracy theory thing about it, but really about honoring the victims from that, and hearing some of the calls, and putting yourself in that situation, and imagining the grief and the pain and all the stuff that they and their family went through. It's unbelievable. And seeing some of the relics. We spent 3 hours in the World Trade Center Memorial down there, just looking at all the artifacts saved, the steel beams, hearing the testimonials or the phone calls from people. But I could have spent all day in there. I thought that was such a cool and well done thing. So yeah, another reason why I'm proud to be an American. That was a very cool event, and very cool thing to check out. One of the last stories I'll tell about 4th of July and Independence Day. I have a big family, the Arkelian clan. Arkelian is traditionally an Armenian last name. I know I look like a leprechaun, and unfortunately I wasn't blessed with my dad's bushy eyebrows, big nose, and back hair. But I am very proud to be an Armenian, especially in the Fresno, California area. There's a lot of Armenians. It's an amazing culture. They look out for each other. They take care of each other. Shout out to Armin Tarigian, one of my first kicking coaches. He's definitely an inspiration to me. He's now a principal at Bullard High School in the area. But we have a big family, the Arkelians, in the Fresno area. And even from a young age, July 4th was one of my favorite holidays. And I can remember, that would be behind Halloween, of course. But I can remember my Uncle Brian, who's traditionally the life of the party, we would go to his house right across the street from Buchanan High School, and Uncle Brian was a lively one. I mean, he would get after it. He'd get tore up, as would the rest of the family. But one of my favorite memories, even from a young age, was watching Uncle Brian try to light some of those big Piccolo Pete's and big fireworks, and try not to get his chest hair lit on fire. Because, as I stated before, my dad, my uncles, they're all very hairy men. They got some curly cues all over their chests and their back, so they are a walking fire hazard. And him avoiding getting his chest, sometimes you get a few sparks, looked like some kindling on his chest, but watching him try to avoid that was definitely one of my favorite memories from July 4th. So cheers to that. Cheers, Uncle Brian. Cheers to chest hair. We're going to add this part to the front. Also, I want to talk about the Alvin Kamara jersey. Now, I traditionally, some more trivia in there for you, so listen up. But I traditionally, growing up, I was a Saints and Jaguars fan. Everyone in my family likes weird, messed up teams. My dad was a Chicago Bears fan. My brother's a New York Giants fan and Atlanta Falcons, until Michael Vick did what he did to dogs. But we always chose weird, random teams. For some reason, I love the Saints. This Alvin Kamara jersey is one of my favorite jerseys. I thought it add my own personal style, some pizzazz to the season finale. But definitely one of my favorite teams. Also got my pop socket here on my phone with the there we go, rocking the Saints. But now with Derek Carr and Jake Haener representing the Saints, my brother's actually going to be moving to New Orleans in this fall anyway, so gonna have to check out a game. But yeah, got to throw some pizzazz on there with the 100-year NFL Saints color rush unis. It's a look for sure. So again, one of the reasons I want to do this episode is I want to change it up. I want to do something different, unique, other than talk about special teams and specialists. So talking about birthdays. When I moved to Tennessee and started teaching and coaching in the Nashville area, I started spending my birthdays alone or on my own in Nashville. So what I would do is I didn't really get any presents or anything from any family. My family would send a card or two, some money and stuff, but I want to make my own presents. So I would go and try to get birthday foods. Some restaurants will do deals. In the history of that, or where it came from, I started going around on like my 23rd birthday in the Nashville area. I decided I was going to get some foods. Now, I'm a list guy. Anyone that knows me, I like to stay organized, and the way I do that is by making lists. Sometimes there's long lists in my notes of foods to eat, or grocery lists, or things to say, or how to behave in certain situations. I like to take notes on a lot of things and save it in list form. I have my FEWSIC list that used to be over my bed, which stood for everyone who said I can't. And it was a motivational list of people who had said things about me or posted things online about me that were negative that motivated me. So some people may say that's negative, but that's the type of energy I like to feed off of. And I would read comments about people saying I was going to miss a kick or shank the ball again to the right, and it only made me work harder. I loved it. So this sort of list was not so negative as a birthday list. And by the time I was done with it, I had a list of 60 different restaurants that gave birthday foods, ranked 1 through 10, okay, as far as best foods. Now, the way I ranked it, your 10 was a sub sandwich, some wings from Hooters or Buffalo Wild Wings. Your pastries, there's a lot of desserts and pastries. Those file down the 5 to 6 range because you eat too many of those, you get mas gordo. Okay, so, but we try to keep it thin and tight here. I would like to clarify for all the people in my life, people that know me, I'm not a cheap person. I am efficient with my money. Efficient with my money is the word. So, I like to be efficient when I can, especially in the coaching business, or people that know about coaching. You either make a ton of money or you make no money. And I remember talking to the DC at Murray State, Coach Johnson, and he said, It's going to take you about 3 to 5 years until you make real money in this profession. Well, this is year 4 for me, and I'm finally making a livable wage. So excited about that. The perk is that you get to coach football and you get paid. I mean, that is one of the coolest things. And when I started out, I literally would do it for free. I volunteered at Marshall, but had a special teams QC role. So I did everything a paid coach would do and got the full experience. I just wasn't getting paid. I made it work. Lived in the building for 8 months, which was actually a dream come true for me. I got to live in the Joan. It was COVID. I wasn't getting paid as a volunteer role. And growing up, we always went to stadiums, arenas, and then the bookstore to get the shirt. Wherever we traveled with my family, my dad and my brother Ryan loved traveling to see different colleges. I feel bad for my mom. Sorry, Mom, that you got dragged around to all these things. So growing up, it was always a goal of mine to live in a stadium. You guys ever seen like Baker Mayfield in the commercials where he wakes up with his slippers on? He's living in the Cleveland Browns stadium. That was a dream for me and still is. So the fact that I got to do that in the Joan and basically act out the movie We Are Marshall every day was pretty cool to me. But what I did this year was I went and I'm going to share with you the foods that I got and how they ranked. And I'm going to supply pictures and visuals to go with it. Before that, shout out to the Fresno State staff, as I said, Coach Army, Coach Wade, quarterbacks and offensive line coach, and the whole offensive assistant room got very behind the idea of the birthday foods. They even helped me make a list on the whiteboard called Brett's Birthday Food Adventure. So this is how it went down. Also, the way birthday foods work is you put your personal info in there, name, birth date, email, phone number if it asks, and then they email it back to you. They email the reward back to you. So there's a lot of confusion. Does it hit on your birthday? Does it hit on the week? Hit on the month? Depends per business, okay? But a lot of them will send it on the first of the month. They'll send it, some will send it on the week of the month, and then most will send it on your actual birthday. So part of the game too is balancing out your foods. Okay, I used to take pictures, and I'll include one of all the different birthday food I got on my birthday. Well, on a Tuesday, like it was this year, I wasn't able to do that. So what I had to do personally was plan out my dates when I was going to go get the birthday food. Denny's was up there, number one. First place I went to was Denny's. There's one right down the street from Fresno State. Now, Denny's was good. They give you the Grand Slam, which I'm a big breakfast guy. Some eggs, pancakes, 2 sausage links, or bacon. That's the route you want to go. Now, Denny's slid from an 8 to an 8.5. Here's the other thing in the game of the birthday foods, okay? You can sign up on an email account and someone will ask you for a phone number. Those that don't, you might end up forgetting, or you might end up maybe using a new email account, and you might make 3 different accounts. So with Denny's, I've been doing this, and I've been in the birthday food game for a while, and we ended up hitting Denny's 3 times. So that slid up from an 8 to about an 8.7. But Denny's is up there. Not the most well presented food, but it was great if I needed a quick fix, needed some lunch, and hadn't packed anything. IHOP was the second restaurant. I got it when I was driving back to the Valley from Sacramento. Some birthday pancakes. They put some funfetti, some icing on there. That's an 8. Okay, that's a pastry. Okay, so that's about as high as I can go. But you got some blueberry jelly and some strawberry. I mean, it was a sight to behold. The third place, Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme is a fantastic donut restaurant. I'm not a big donut guy. The problem is if I get a box of donuts, I'll eat all 12. So that was a great gift to the office. You should have seen our defensive GA, Jerry Gallatin's face when he got a Krispy Kreme donut. I mean, it was like I had bought him a trophy. It was like I was not giving him a donut, but $1 million. He was excited about it. But Krispy Kreme donuts, I took one myself. Warm, they're a great gift for the whole office. So I made sure everyone got a gift. So Krispy Kreme comes in at an 8. It got up to an 8.5 because not only did I went once, I went twice using 2 different emails, and tried to feed, again, the whole office. So Krispy Kreme, 8.5. Okay. Next would be Red Robin. Now, Red Robin, this is a tough case. In the past, they've given you a free burger for your birthday. And sometimes you can kind of finesse, all right? But this time when I went, in the past, they've given out free burgers. And sometimes you just say, hey, it's my birthday. And they won't even check. They'll just give it to you. With the bombless fries, it's a top 5 combination. This time I went, and the story was you had to spend $5 to get the birthday burger. No big deal. I'll spend a few dollars here and there, especially for a free birthday burger. Problem was the only thing that was around $5 was shakes, and I don't want to eat burger, fries, and shakes and just become a tank. So, and what I ended up doing was getting some fried pickles. Well, those came in about $7, $8, and then ended up with tax came out to 10, 11. And then, your boy has to leave a tip. So we sat about $15 for a free birthday burger. Might as well have just bought the burger at that point. Love Red Robin. Love the people at Red Robin. But that is coming in at a 6. That is a 6 because of all the added things. Next on that list is A&W. A&W is my mom's favorite. The combination of root beer and ice cream is a dream combination. I personally cannot have too much of that. I found out I was diagnosed being lactose intolerant when I was 18. So also people that know me know that I struggle with that on a regular basis. And I'm sorry if you do know that. But I will still suffer through a root beer float. Fantastic root beer float. That's an 8. I'll give that an 8. Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's is one of the highest rated. They give you an 8-inch sub. There's a couple locations. And I've got to come clean about this. In Sacramento last year, I didn't initially know how to work the app. And I kept going to different locations in Sacramento and saying, hey, I have an email that says, hey, I have a free sub. And the kids that work there didn't understand how to work it either. So they just threw me a sub. I mean, they just gave me a sub. I went 7 times to Jersey Mike's. So not only did they get a high rating last year, they're about a damn 9.8. I mean, they were killing it. This year only went 2 or 3 times. Jersey Mike's makes fantastic sub. Don't know if I would go there on my own dime, but very good. I got to get it Mike's way. Shout out to Coach Army. Jersey Mike's is up there. Dutch Bros. Dutch Bros is a very uniquely, I don't think there's any Dutch Bros on the East Coast. It's a very uniquely Californian thing. The most sugary and the highest calorie coffee drinks you will ever drink. I mean, I think by drinking it, you can get diabetes. But I was trying to watch my figure. Still ended up getting a tall one, but I didn't get a caramelizer, which is by far their best drink. I got some mixed espresso drink. That was okay. I'll give it an 8. Actually, it's really a 7.7. So 7.7 on the board here for Dutch Bros. El Pollo Loco. For those that know me, they know that El Pollo Loco is top 5. Growing up, we'd always go to Friday nights. We would go out to eat at a local restaurant. Normally, it'd be El Pollo Loco, Panda Express, or like Sweet Tomatoes or something because my parents were trying to be healthy. And then Friday nights, we'd eat pizza. Now, that changed, obviously, when I hit 18. But El Pollo Loco, when I moved to Houston in Rice, they had an El Pollo Loco, and I about lost my damn mind. So El Pollo Loco, high in that list. They will give you a free bowl on your birthday with all the fixins. Rice, chicken, onions, tomatoes. Fantastic. That's an 8.4. That'd be an 8.4 there for the El Pollo Loco bowl. And then finally, rounding it out this year is Porta Subs. Porta Subs is a local chain in the California Central Valley area. Shout out to Sonny Sanga, one of my best buds from high school. They do own a Porta Subs. Sonny does own a Porta Subs, and they make fantastic subs on sourdough bread, which I feel like is a very Californian thing to do. So we're going to give that an 8.2, 8.2 for Porta Subs, 5-inch sub, a little bit smaller. So if you guys are ever interested or need the birthday foods list, you can always hit me up, email me. You know what I might do? I might make a PDF and put that on my website, icemankicking.com. Again, the brand is still Iceman Kicking. The podcast has been changed to the Iceman Podcast because we talk about so much more than specialists and special teams now. We also talk about coaching and birthday foods. And we also talk about July 4th and Independence Day. Now, we're going to have the Iceman Podcast Season 3 awards and trivia. We're going to do a quick review of Season 2 and Season 3 of the Iceman Podcast and tell you a little bit of behind the scenes action about each episode. So pretty cool. Let me start off with Season 2 because I never really got to talk about and break that season down. This was the summer of 2021. I was at Virginia Tech, and I was lucky enough to come into contact with David Akers and Adam Vinatieri, who are two of the GOATs in the special teams and kicking game. And I remember going to my special teams coordinator at the time, James Shebus, who, for those of you that know Coach Shebus, he's a very old school, traditional style coach, fantastic coach, special teams coordinator of the year in 2008, 2017. Definitely learned a lot about structure and detail from Coach Shebus. I told him, I said, Coach, I know I had this podcast back in the day. I think I want to do at least 2 episodes this summer. I have these amazing guests, 2 guys that are Pro Bowlers and future Hall of Famers that were kickers. He said, Brett, if I hear you say one bad thing about the Virginia Tech Hokies, you're going to be fired. I know that sounds akin to the Waterboy coach. Hey, Waterboy, you're fired. But he had that thick Houstonian accent. And I said, yes, sir. I will not say anything bad about the Hokies. 2 of my favorite episodes, got to record both of them one was in Blacksburg, Virginia, recorded Dave's episode in Blacksburg. And that was an awesome episode. We've become pretty close since I lived in Nashville. Quick story about Dave. When I first met him, I said, hey, do you mind if we go get coffee and talk about some kicking? So we went to a Starbucks in Franklin, Tennessee. And it was 9:00. We'd already talked for 2 hours about kicking and about his son, and his son was at UCLA at the time. And they said, hey, guys, you got to go. So I figured we'd be done. And Dave said, hey, you know what? Let me take you outside. Let me take you to the parking lot outside. For those of you that know Dave, know he has a little bit of a high, excited voice and such a great human being. And he takes me outside. He said, see, when you're punting, you got to get your chest in forward. You got to be in a power position like this. You can't be leaning back. And I'm freezing my butt off in the cold Tennessee winter, and just my teaching shirt that I was in that day after teaching high school there. And I'm like, what is my life? It's 10:45, and David Akers is showing me how to hit a punt in the parking lot. So great connection with him. We talked for over 2 hours on that episode. Adam Vinatieri, that episode was recorded in Houston. And the reason why it was special was he's the GOAT. I mean, 4-time Pro Bowler. I mean, he's a 4-time Super Bowl champ, a 3-time All-Pro, NFL 2000s All-Decade team. He's on the Patriots All-Dynasty team. He's on the NFL 100-year anniversary team. Just the physical makeup and mental makeup. I mean, I think that's what really separated him, was his mental aspect. If you have not watched that, you need to. I believe that's Season 2, Episode 1 of the Iceman Podcast, where I get to talk to him about, hitting 3 Super Bowl winning kicks. And he talks about his 3-foot box in that field goal, or in that segment. And just listening to him break down how he wasn't worried about anything outside of his 3-foot box, and practice was so hard that it hardened him to become the Super Bowl winner that he is today, was a really cool episode. So awesome episode there. I put my dogs out and rep the dogs. Now we get to Season 3 of the Iceman Podcast. For me, Season 3 almost didn't happen. Last summer, Dan Hawkins, this summer of 2022, found out that I had a podcast when I was coaching at UC Davis. And he said, you know what, Brett, you need to get that going again. I said, really? I feel like it's a distraction a little bit. And he goes, no, you're doing something that no one else is doing. And you interview great guests. You should really keep that going. And hearing something from a mentor like that, or someone I looked up to and respected, because I know he's big into podcasts, got me invigorated to do it again. And I said, Coach, I'll only do it if you come on the episode with me. So season 3, episode 1 opens up with Dan Hawkins, UC Davis, and he talks about the hero's journey. Now, if you know Coach Hawkins, you know that the hero's journey is huge to him. It's the story that nothing happens easy in our life. It's a circle of activities or events that take place in your life where you struggle, you go through some down times, but that adversity leads to you coming back up and rising to the top. When we see stories or tales of great legends, we always just see them at their peak, but 100% of them have gone through some type of adversity where they were down at their lowest of lows and had to fight back to become the hero that they are. So that is the hero's journey. Coach Hawkins talks about that in season 3, episode 1, which was a great episode of mine. The next guest would become a very important figure in my life too, John Baxter. Coach Baxter, at the time this was recorded last summer in 2022, we ended up posting it in December. I was actually in San Francisco at the time, and the reason that episode is relevant is Coach Baxter coached at Fresno State. I had been in contact with him a couple of times when he taken the job in 2021, right at the end of the 2021 season. Obviously, the chance to work for a coach like that who's written books, who's written the academic game plan, who's been the special teams coordinator of the year, who was a Clovis co-citizen of the year in 2006. I knew he was a great person and an amazing coach. I didn't know how good of a teacher he was. So we stayed in touch throughout that time. And Matt Phipps, who actually became a good friend of mine, ended up leaving in February of 2022 to go to Butte College. And Coach Baxter called me up after we had done the podcast, and he said, you know what, the opportunity is yours if you want it. And that was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in my life, because I love UC Davis and working for Dan Hawkins, and they're going to have a great dominant program as they already do. But that episode with Coach Baxter was cool because he talks about what's changed over the last 30 years of college football, with NIL, talking about how the grass isn't always greener as far as coaches hopping jobs. He's done it all. In his first 10 years, he moved first 15 years, he moved about 8 times. And since then, he's only been at 2 real universities, Fresno State and USC, in the last 20 something years. Every day that I get to walk in the office and work for Coach Baxter is a joy. I learn something new every day. He always says writing crystallizes thinking, among other sayings. He's got a million of them. But it really is a fun thing to do. And then coaching my hometown, I know I've talked about it multiple times, but the chance to represent the Dogs, represent my hometown, do something to help the community. It makes me feel selfless. It's humbling. And I couldn't have dreamed in a million years to be in this position. So thank you to Coach Tedford, and thank you to Coach Baxter. Season 3, episode 2, it is worth your weight for sure. Season 3 was also recorded in that same day in San Francisco, or actually Berkeley, at my aunt's house. And I got to talk with Chris Couch, who's Florida's game changer coordinator, and Shayne Graham, who is a legend in his own right, played at Florida. And I'm still kind of trying to work on this. I kind of wanted to get Shayne on as a co-host and let him do his thing, because he's such a good talker, entertainer. I know he's busy, but listening to him and Coach Couch talk about, what is a game changer coordinator? I thought that was a really unique title that Florida gave to Coach Couch. What's important recruiting as far as authenticity, and why special teams is important at that next level. It's an awesome episode. I'm lucky to get those guys on there. That's season 3, episode 3. Season 3, episode 4 was special. It was recorded in my hometown. It was one of the first episodes I'd recorded in my hometown of Clovis with Coach Sean Saturnio. And those of you that are in the special teams game know that Coach Saturnio is the man. All right. He's got he is a block god. He's got the sauce mafia, right? Where they bring the juice, they bring the energy to the field. Kids want to play in that team. In the last 2 years, he's led the NCAA in blocked punts. That aggressive style of getting after teams, that's what special teams is about, in my eyes, personally. It's not just to get by and be average, but to make plays and change the game. And that's what Coach Saturnio does. So As he says, mana is infectious. That mentality. Some of his great coaching proverbs. He dropped a ton of them. One of my favorite proverbs from the Block God is high expectations cannot survive low standards. I mean, Coach Saturnio, that's an awesome saying. I always ask coaches about their proverbs, but that was one of the best ones I've ever heard. So that is season 3, episode 4. Season 3, episode 5 was really cool. Recorded in Houston, so I'm in a new city. That was over the winter break, and it was the first pro head coach we've ever had on the Iceman podcast. That's Saskatchewan Roughriders head coach Craig Dickenson. Coach Dickenson is the man, one of the most humble, hardworking coaches I've ever encountered. I met him at the special teams summit that we did last year, where I met Coach Baxter in person and some other great coaches. We had a coach from each conference come out and talk special teams. And it's, as Coach Hawkins says, it's the best way to have an unfiltered product and talk about special teams with no one worried about, clinics. They're fine, but a lot of people are scared, and for good reason, to really release what they do schematically and how they teach their players. Probably one of the most interesting episodes I've ever been a part of, talking about CFL special teams rules, becoming a special teams coordinator at a super young age. What it takes. I think one of my favorite quotes he had was, he was talking about a hilarious story of teaching a kid on ice skates, and how they think they're doing it all, but you're really pushing them and being there for them, supporting. But as long as they believe that they've taught themselves, then you've done your job. And that's kind of what coaching is. Craig Dickenson, head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, season 3, episode 5 was an awesome episode. Season 3, episode 6 was really cool. I've respected Justin Lustig, who's Vanderbilt's special teams coordinator, for a while. This was a cool episode because I actually recorded it in Nashville around that same time, winter break, and then got to meet him the next day because I was in town. I said, "Hey, Coach, I don't know if you mind coming around." Very personable guy. He's been a head coach before at Edinburgh. He's from the Northeast, the Pennsylvania area. And I listened. We were supposed to do a podcast together about 2 months in advance. And he had done a few guest appearances on different podcasts. And I swear I listened to this one. I forgot, it was like the Jersey Boys or the Beach Boys. Some high school or college kids from his hometown interview him. And it's one of the most real and authentic episodes. Justin Lustig is the man, talking about, creating buy-in and just being authentic with your players. But meeting him the next day was so cool. He didn't feel the need to be someone he's not, just very authentic, like he says he is. He allowed me to, bounce some ideas off him and really kind of guided me. So I really appreciate Coach Justin Lustig with Vanderbilt. Season 3, episode 6 is a very awesome episode. Season 3, episode 7. This one's very near and dear to my heart because it's someone I coached. I think it's maybe one of the first episodes it is one of the first episodes I've ever had a kicker or a specialist I've coached on my podcast, and that's Isaiah Gomez, UC Davis's kicker. Isaiah is an awesome story because he talks about the JUCO life. If any of you guys have played in JUCO, or if anyone's seen the show Last Chance U, that's where a lot of Isaiah's motivation came from. And, a funny thing to talk about that is that show came out when I was at UT Martin still playing. I went to community college and I had a couple of friends reach out and say, "Hey, Brett, this reminds me of you, having to go through Fresno City." For those of you that know, I was at a JUCO and I was essentially the equipment manager for a season. And then I got an opportunity at a Division II school in Pennsylvania. But that grind of, JUCOs don't pay. California JUCOs do not pay kids. So you kind of have to do it all on your own and get an opportunity. Well, Isaiah really embodies that, coming from a little bit of rougher childhood, parents that worked their butt off to give him and his siblings a chance to be successful. And then him having a lot of success. I think the coolest thing for me about Isaiah was he talks about going 3 for 9 his senior year with me, when he had all these NFL aspirations and a lot of people talking to him and hyping him up, and he just stayed the course. He never freaked out. We kept communication very open, he and I, talking about, what's important. And I think that's really big for kicking coaches. The one thing that I've found is that the best thing you can do is not have an ego and be willing to talk and conversate about what he thinks the best decision or the best adjustment is. And then I give my input and we come to a collaborative decision. After that conversation happened after the fourth game, the next game we went to Montana State and Isaiah went on a run of 15 for 15. He made 100% of his kicks from there on out, and ended up the season an all-conference, all-Big Sky kicker, which he did twice at UC Davis. So I think Isaiah is a pro. He's legit in everything that he does. He's very confident. He's very humble. He's very hardworking, but he's got that mental toughness, that dog, as a lot of people say. And that's a great episode about talking about dealing with adversity. Him and Coach Hawkins, the UC Davis guys, they really know about dealing with adversity and the hero's journey, as both of them know. Season 3, episode 8 was a really cool episode. It was one of the first ones actually recorded here in Fresno at my studio that we sit at now. But it was cool because Adam Tonalski, who runs Hammer Kicking, does a fantastic job of getting his specialists out there and getting them exposure. Brought on a bunch. It was a pre-draft episode called Draft Dreams. We took guys such as Blake Groupie, who played at Notre Dame, Colin Goodfellow at Kentucky, Shane McDonough at NC State, Matt Trickett, who's gotten a couple shots in the NFL thereafter with Minnesota, Jake Bates with Arkansas, Briggs Bourgeois, got that, Southern Miss, and Adam talk all about recruiting, their past the NFL, and what they bring to the table. I thought it was an amazing episode. It was one of a kind. We'll definitely do another episode, a post-draft episode now, seeing where they're at now and how they're doing. But yeah, hearing all those guys' different inputs, playing at Power 5 schools and talking about the standard and what it takes from guys like Jake, work with some legendary special teams coordinators, and just Adam's take on recruiting and what you need to do. I think one of his coolest quotes was talking about, getting asked to the prom with another Iceman Podcast attendee or guest in Dan Lundy. He said, would you ask 5 girls to the prom the same way? Talking about recruiting and DMing coaches the same way. I thought was really good about being an individual and being unique in how you reach out to these coaches. That's huge. So really fun episode, season 3, episode 8. Season 3, episode 9, we followed up with another kicking coach, Dan Lundy, who was gracious enough to have me on his podcast. Dan is very introspective. He's a great guy. He's a great talker and a great coach. He talks about his career at Miami. This one was actually recorded a little bit earlier when I was still in Davis. But we talk all about, I think one of his greatest quotes was, a secret to consistency. I always get specialists. I ask them, when you're recruiting a specialist, a kicker, a punter, a long snapper, coaches, you have to be detailed and you have to ask their thought process. Yeah, we can see they can hit a 70, 75-yard kickoff. That's great. 4-0 hang time, they got a chance. But when you're really trying to decide, especially at the highest levels, it really comes down to the mental state, how they handle pressure. How do you do that? How do you find out if this guy can hit a game-winning field goal in front of 70,000 people? Well, you ask them questions throughout the process. So one of my favorite questions is, what's your greatest strength and what's your greatest weakness? What do you need to work on? And I'm telling you guys, I can't stand it. Kids always say consistency, because that's the line that they've been fed, right? You either got a power leg or an accuracy leg by their high school head coaches or high school coaches. I would say, what does that mean? Tell me, you need to work on consistency. What does that mean? What about your consistency? I'm looking for either something fundamental or something that they're training themselves, whether it's using a different sport with mental training or breathing or stuff like that, or contact. I want to see how detailed they are. And I think Coach Lundy hit it right on the head about consistency. Consistency really comes from visualization and different breathing techniques. And that's not talked about a lot. That's something I need to get in with my guys more, but it was a breath of fresh air and a great episode. So that's Dan Lundy with season 3, episode 9. Season 3, episode 10 was awesome. One of my favorites, Adam Scheier. Coach Scheier, I like to say, is the godfather of special teams, man. He is excitable. He's always fired up to go to work. I aspire to be like that when I'm a special teams coordinator one day. He played, he's from the Northeast. He's got a little bit of a Jersey accent, Italian accent. I think one of the coolest things he talked about was being emotionally vulnerable and there for his players, and they respected that the most. And he calls that dropping the shield. They were more likely to play harder for him and give everything they got. He threw out some great coaching proverbs too. Just an overall awesome episode. Definitely worth listening and worth checking out. Season 3, episode 11 was my boy Kody Schexnayder. Now, my boy Schnecksy, he got. We originally met at Mississippi State when I was a young high school coach, and he was playing at Mississippi State. And he kind of asked me. I remember him being very aware of me being there and talking to me a lot and saying, what's your goal? What do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to be a special teams coordinator. I said, what about you? And he goes, yeah, I want to get into coaching. And I was like, yeah, go for it, man. Like, we need more specialists or people that understand special teams, but also really want to coach and get really detailed. So over the years, I've used Kody as someone to bounce interview ideas off of, and he just got a great understanding for ball. Spent the last 2 years at Arkansas State, and then this offseason, he shot up. I mean, from the time we recorded when he was at Arkansas State, and I was actually in Iowa recording, to when we released the episode, he bounced from Arkansas State to Oregon State and Ole Miss. And I know it's easy for fans to be critical of coaches bouncing around, but at the end of the day, as coaches, we have to provide for our families and put ourselves and our careers in the best situation possible. That doesn't mean there's no loyalty, especially where I'm at. I feel very loyal to the coaching staff and the city that I'm in, and give everything I have for my university. But I'm proud of Kody for bouncing around and doing what he needed to do to help his career and his family. And he's a young, fired up coach. That's a coach that's going to be on the way up. So definitely look out for Kody Schexnayder, who's now at Ole Miss. Season 3, episode 12. This is one of the top 5 special teams coordinator in the country right now, Todd Goebbel from NC State. He's one of the best doing it right now. He had a Lou Groza Award winner. He's had 2 in Mike Nugent and Chris Dunn this last season. And talking about managing kickers like they're pitchers, that's so cool. Coach Baxter does this too, but using different sports to train people, that's how you get ahead in coaching. It's not just doing the same stuff everyone else is doing. Finding inspiration from other sports and then using it to your own liking. I mean, I probably gave away the juice, but people still have to put it into play or use that advice. And I think that's something I'm working on as a coach, is to use motivation from other sports to help with your sport. So Coach Goebbel has definitely found the secret sauce in that, and is doing a hell of a job at NC State. So one of the best special teams coordinators out is Coach Goebbel, who comes on season 3, episode 12. Loved AZ kicking. Alex Dendejas, junior and senior, they come on for season 3, episode 13. That was also recorded in Fresno. That was a special episode because we've never had a father-son duo on the podcast. They trained the first scholarship kicker ever in Becca Longo, and they just have an intense passion for coaching and for teaching. Matt Carrizosa is one of my buddies. We went to camps together, kicking camps as kids at Cal and Sac State. And Mac plays in the XFL still, while your boy is long and washed up. But he swears by the Zendejas father-son combo and what they're treating him. They really treat them like athletes, like soccer players, and they train those guys to get the most out of them. So really cool operation they have going on there in Arizona. We had to save the hometown hero, Frank Dalena, with the Bring the Juice podcast. So the story with Frank was what makes it special is we got in contact with him last summer when I saw him doing his thing with his podcast and really doing a lot for the Valley. I think it's really cool that he's putting on events and organizing things to help support the dogs where he played for Fresno State. Just from one Valley guy to another, seeing that happen and seeing an intense pride for where you're from, I think is very admirable. And what he's doing marketing his business. So we call it Pistachios to Pro Athletes, that episode. But he's working, his family owns almond fields and onion fields, and he's working in the morning and then doing this stuff during the day. So really cool what Frank's got going on. An awesome episode, a Valley episode, a great way to kind of sum up the season. And then you got season 3, episode 15. The only other episode I've done just by myself is the original, the first episode, season 1, episode 1. And felt a little weird, but I'm glad I did it. I am. And I'm glad I did this too. It's been really fun. So we're going to incorporate some other aspects to make it fun because it's the season finale. You won't get another episode for probably another 6 to 8 months. So we're going to do some trivia. A couple parts of the trivia. The big thing is it's a big giveaway. All right. We're giving out 1 free copy of the Kicker's Bible and some dope apparel. All right. For free to you guys. So Kicker's Bible, apparel. And all you have to do is follow these steps right here. You're going to subscribe to the Iceman Podcast on Spotify and shoot me a direct message, whether it's on Twitter or Instagram. Okay. And then you'll write a 5-star review on Spotify. Mention your favorite episode. That's all you have to do on Spotify. Help us out. Give us some more love there. And then you're going to do this trivia on Kahoot. Which we did a lot of when I was coaching at UC Davis. You can listen on here, or you can go straight to the link. The link will be in the bio. And send me those. I will get your results. So fill out those things and you send me the screenshots and we'll go from there. All right, here we go. It's a 10-question trivia that I will read through and go through on this episode. Question number 1. What guest on season 3 is a fellow author, Clovis Co-Citizen of the Year in 2006, and Special Teams Coordinator of the Year in 2011? Is it A, Dan Hawkins, B, John Baxter, C, the Iceman, or D, Justin Lustig? These are all questions that are reviews of season 2 and 3. What is my favorite holiday? Mentioned it earlier this episode. Is it July 4th, Christmas and New Year's Eve, Halloween, or Juneteenth? Question number 3, also mentioned during the season finale episode. What was my favorite sports team growing up? Is it A, Giants and Falcons, B, Jaguars and Saints, C, Rams and Saints, or D, Bears and Bengals? Question number 4. I went through a list of my birthday foods. Okay. What was the highest ranking birthday food? This is a tough one now. Was it A, Jersey Mike's, B, El Pollo Loco, C, Red Robin, or D, IHOP? Okay, rewind a little bit. Season 2, okay. What 4-time Super Bowl champ, 3-time All-Pro, NFL 2000s All-Decade, and Patriots All-Dynasty team member come on the Iceman Podcast in season 2? Is it Deion Sanders, David Akers, Steven Gostkowski, or Adam Vinatieri? Question number 6, season 3. Who was the block god who had countless proverbs on the Iceman Podcast, including high expectations cannot survive low standards? Is it A, Sean Saturnio, B, Adam Scheier, C, Justin Lustig, or D, Isaiah Gomez? Question number 7. Where was Brett Arkelian at before Fresno State? Was it A, Virginia Tech, B, Marshall, C, Rice, or D, UC Davis? Question number 8, season 3, episode 5. CFL head coach Craig Dickenson recounted a hilarious story of teaching a kid on skates. What team is he currently the head coach of? Is it A, Hamilton Tiger Cats, B, the Calgary Stampeders, C, Toronto Argonauts, or D, Saskatchewan Rough Riders? Some little CFL trivia there for you. Okay, question number 9, almost done here, rounding out. From season 3, episode 8, Coach Tanalski said, would you ask 5 girls to prom the same way? What was he referring to? Was he just talking about prom? Or was he talking about A, aiming for the moon and landing in stars? B, dating multiple girls while playing football? C, using protective measures in dating? Or D, recruiting and DMing coaches the same way? And the final question, bringing it home, of the season 3 episode finale, season 3 episode 9, is question number 10. Dan Lundy gives the secret to consistency. What is it? Is it A, do what feels natural? B, visualization and breathing? C, a lot of kicking? Or D, kicking harder? All right, so you guys will go on that link that will be in the Spotify bio, the YouTube bio, the Apple Music bio, and I will put on my website, icemankicking.com, and fill that out, and then send me screenshots above answered, and you will win your Kicker's Bible and exclusive apparel from me, Brett Arkelian. Hey guys, looks like that sums up the season 3 episode 15 finale. I do want to just thank so many of you guys, specifically Julie Wilson, who worked on my book, Cameron Smith, who's been a freaking all-star, man. He's done all the editing and work on the podcast. Adam Abrahamson, Jenna Herron. Thanks so much to the team, the creative team, for everything they've done and worked on this. None of this is possible without you guys. So thanks a lot. Be sure to check out the guest appearances I did in the year of 2023. Special thanks to Keith Grabowski. I got the chance to go on the coaching coordinator episode. You can find that on Spotify or any of his websites. I will put the link in my iceman.com or icemankicking.com guest appearances section. Also did shout out to Dan Lundy in the Fourth Down podcast. That was really cool that I did this year. Check that out on his website. JJ Mendoza, shout out to him and the Bendy Boy podcast. That's on YouTube, where I get to go on there and talk about my career and making it here. And then shout out to the Coaching Network, Paul Curran. That was an awesome episode where I got to actually teach and talk about special teams and punt coverage. Any of the episodes that I've done mentioned before, Up Close and Personnel with Alex Brown, that you can find that on my website. The BAFCA coaching specialist with the British American Football Conference Association. The Fourth Down Experience, when I was at Marshall, talking with my guys Brian Jackson, Chris Hughesby. Simple Kicking, the Special Teams Roundtable, where I got to talk with some amazing guests like Louis Matsakis, Drew Meyer, Grant Kersner, and shout out to Simple Kicking for that episode. All that stuff, you can find that. You just type in my name, Brett Arkelian, on Spotify, or go to my website, icemankicking.com, and click on guest appearances. Also, along with Keith, pretty awesome Coach Tube. I will be posting a lot of the clinics I've done, re-recording them and posting them. So if you want to learn about anything, you guys can personally own the stuff I make by going on Coach Tube and purchasing any of the clinic talks. If there's anything you want me to do a talk about, shoot me an idea and I'll put it on Coach Tube and you can have that. Or just messaging me. I love talking ball. This is kind of our downtime, the month of July, to really talk some ball. But if there's anything, material wise that you want to know or learn, shoot me a message. I could do a video on Coach Tube for that. I will be posting the clinic talks that I've done, such as at the Ohio Coaching Association and a few other ones. I will be recording for season 4 of the Iceman Podcast all summer, and those will probably drop starting again in January. So we'll take a hiatus for the season, but we will be back for season 4 of the Iceman Podcast. So reaching out to suitors or advertisers or any of that stuff and trying to get that going. So, but yeah, just my advice is to stay motivated. Keep trying new things. Currently, I'm playing some softball, some soccer, jiu-jitsu. Shout out to JJ Mendoza. doing jiu-jitsu for the first time in my life because I want to strengthen my body. I want to try something new. I want to learn every day. And I've got a lust for life where I always want to learn new things. And that comes from people that have been around me and mentored me, anywhere from John Baxter as recently as now to Coach Jordan Hankins during our time at UT Martin and at Marshall. So thank you guys again for a very successful season, for some amazing guests, for supporting subscribers. I appreciate you. Wanted to give you something fun for the final episode of season 3, episode 15. Don't hesitate to reach out. My Twitter, on my website, I have contact info, email. Just hoping for the best for you guys. Stay hungry, stay vigilant, stay cool under pressure, baby. Iceman out. Also, you can find, we will be posting TikToks this summer of our most recent episodes, and keep interacting there. If you're interested in the Kicker's Bible, nearly 200 pages of excerpts from over 20 NFL specialists, you can find that at icemankicking.com or on Amazon. So kick your feet up and stay cool under pressure. Iceman out.